This is the truth behind Big L's death. You feel me? Go check out Hip Hop Universe. I'll leave the link in the description below. Go check out the original content.
Big L, rest in peace. Rest in peace.
The biggest thing in the world. He scared me to death. Yo, when I heard that on tape, I was scared to death. I said, yo, there's no way I could compete. If this is what I gotta compete with, I said, there's no way.
On February 15th, 1999, legendary rapper Big L was shot 9 times in the face and chest. He passed at the age of 24 and died at the crime scene. Today we will analyze this tragic incident and break down all the events that led to the shooting. For that, we need to go back in time and take a look at the place he lived in and his relationship with the people in his neighborhood. Big L grew up in Harlem, New York, on 139th Street and Lenox, with his 2 brothers Leroy aka Big Lee and Donald aka Big Don, who were technically Big L's cousins. But Dawn and Lee's mom took L in and raised him as her own. L always saw them as his brothers and looked up to them. They were serious street cats and gangsters, especially Big Lee, who, along with his friends Matthew White.
Yeah, he mentions Big Lee in his rap, because he said Big Lee is like his big brother,
aka
Big
Reggie, and Thomas Riley, aka TC, founded the notorious West Harlem crew 139th Street NFL, which was basically a clique of territorial crack dealers and killers, which Big L would later join. Lee, Reg, and TC would not only sell drugs together, but they even went in and out of prison together in the 80s and 90s, so they were real tight. They stuck up and extorted people and controlled the area, which Big L would later call the danger zone.
Okay, I see Lenny.
The key reason why L lost his life is because of a chain of events that revolve around reckless and stupid decisions by his older brother Big Lee, who managed to upset the entire NFL crew, for which Big L had to pay.
Whoa. Why somebody told me about what the NFL crew was. Okay.
It all started when NFL co-founder Reg got introduced to the crack game, thanks to an old man named Marv, with whom he started hustling together. Marv taught him everything about dealing drugs, and Reg taught it to the NFL crew. He was his mentor and the reason why the NFL crew got into selling crack. But then he got murdered by either Lee's cousin Country or someone close to him. Country left Harlem and Reg had to fill Marv's shoes in the drug game. He couldn't do it alone, so he got TC, Lee, and a guy named Shake with him. They would run drug operations on 139th Street together and split the profits. But Lee was caught hiding a portion of the profits from the drug sales, putting it into his own pocket so that TC and Reg would
You hiding it? No, you stealing.
less than what they deserved. And this type of behavior would later get Lee and also Big L in trouble. Lee's entitlement, narcissism, and willingness to screw over his own brothers. In that particular incident, he blamed it all on his partner Shake, saying that he got high on his own supply, and that's the reason why the money is missing. But the truth later came out and everybody understood that Lee was screwing them over. TC and Reg were furious and hurt. How could their brother steal from them and then blame it all on his partner Shake, who they considered a brother as well? All this was done because Lee wanted more for himself. According to NFL member Lou Black, he
greedy, just
was
being
cold
greedy
and selfish. This was in the late 80s before Big L even started rapping. Reg wanted to kill Lee even back then. But how do you kill your brother over money? They loved Lee way too much for that.
Some people
So
will
they let
do
it
it.
slide. But this type of response only enabled him, and Lee would try to see how far he can go. He interpreted their love for him as weakness, assuming that they're only letting it slide because they're scared of him. So this would only get worse and worse over the years. From that point on, they would work in two groups to make sure that Lee can't screw them over again. TC and Reg worked 1 week, Lee and Shake would have the next. But that didn't work out because of mismanagement of funds. Between the 4 of them, they didn't have money to buy more work. And on top of all that, they got into multiple shootouts with a Jamaican drug crew, which started selling in NFL's territory. The Jamaicans vacated the premises, but Lee and Shake got charged with attempted murder and weapons possession. Shake was released on his own recognizance, and Lee was granted bail. TC and Reg around that time started doing stick-ups and slowly started losing interest in selling crack, which didn't mean that they stopped entirely, but from time to time Lee would take over for them. And he was very talented, turning a small crack operation into a tremendously successful enterprise. But his weakness was greed and impatience. He wanted more and more. His pay cut wasn't enough for him. He also didn't want anyone else to have the same success he had achieved. If someone even attempted to reach his level, it was perceived as a threat, and he responded accordingly. He couldn't help himself, and even had this aggressive and reckless attitude in the presence of his best friends. It was as if no one was supposed to have nice things but him. TC's cousin Lou Black described him as a money-hungry man with a superiority complex. Someone who always needed to be the center of attention. The alpha male who always had to be in charge. Lee thought he should run the block, and what he said went. According to Lou Black, Lee's mistake was trying to lead with intimidation. It supposedly worked for most except Reg, who also had a strong personality. People gravitated to Reg out of love and respect, not out of fear. He made everyone around him feel comfortable and accepted. And that might have bothered Lee to a degree, and might have made him jealous, because he could lead and receive love from everybody without having to resort to intimidation tactics. So there was a little bit of competition going on. But the two were still close and had each other's backs. Over the years, Lee's lust for supremacy festered into a full-blown envious mentality. And according to Lou Black, who again is the cousin of Big L's murderer G Love and TC, this is what put a strain on their relationship. They would go through periods of distancing themselves, but Lee supposedly needed to align himself with a man of Reg's caliber because his demeanor and attitude kept people away. Reg was the one that brought people together, and Lee supposedly had a problem with that. He wanted everyone to embrace him. That's why he came up with a plan.
So that's why. So is that the reason why Big L got unalive? Because Big Lee wasn't getting recognition that he deserved? That's crazy,
to take over everything. After a while, Lee was in control of the whole block, but only because TC and Reg let him, out of love and respect. TC decided to explore new territory and started hustling in the park, but Reg stayed out of it. He tried his best to be a hustler in the crack game, but to no avail. He would always do something wrong or he mismanaged his business. So he decided that selling drugs wasn't for him. He chose the way of the gun and became a quote-unquote quiet assassin. Started sticking people up to provide for his daughter. TC made a lot of money in the park, and Lee once again got jealous. All of a sudden he wanted to sell in the park as well. Control not only the block, but part of the park at the same time, because he wasn't selling much. So TC let him. Lee came out with the green tops while TC had the red ones. Reg was just sitting back chilling. This was around the time when he got close to G, the guy that would later shoot and kill Big L. G, just like Reg, wasn't a hustler. He basically followed Reg's lead and embarked on a trail of violence that would include armed robberies and other treacherous acts. It was a horrible way for G and Reg to make a living, but it's the road they chose to travel. According to Lou Black, things started to go south after Reg, TC and Lee went to jail, cause Lee supposedly changed after being separated from his friends for that long. Reg and TC got out a year before him. Lou Black also believes that the reason why Lee was so quick to cut off his friends or see his friends as enemies is because of his childhood. Lee's mother supposedly told him that he has no friends and that he can't trust anybody, as Lee's father was murdered by his so-called friends. This was the type of malice and contempt she instilled in her.
That's crazy. You instilled that in your son? That's crazy. I will leave a link in the description below if you want to go check out Hip Hop Universe for the original content. But still, that's crazy. You do not instill that in your son, bro. Never do that, bro.